this teacher went out of her way to ask to put these books in the school library. And when they were rejected, she decided she was going to go behind their backs, maybe, and put them in her own classroom. There's an article that came out this week that I am so excited to get into because I have a classroom library of my own, and this is about something related to one teacher's classroom library. This article here is headlined, Teacher Sues District After Suspension for Having Books with LGBTQ plus characters in the classroom. And this is published on numerous news sources. This here is on WLWT 5, so you can find it there. Written by Emily Sanderson, and it was updated on December 6th, 2024. So let's take a look at what happened in this incident, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. And of course, as always, I want to make sure that I hear from you guys. So let's dive into it. It says a teacher is suing the New Richmond School District and superintendent, claiming her rights to free speech and due process were violated after she was suspended over having books with LGBTQ plus characters in her classroom. The lawsuit was filed by longtime Monroe Elementary teacher Karen Cahall against the district, Superintendent Tracy Miller, and the school district board members. So apparently it says here that she was suspended for 3 days because she had 4 LGBTQ plus books with 4 LGBTQ plus characters in them in her 3rd grade classroom. 3rd grade. Wow, that's pretty young there. And it says the books in question were Anna on the Edge, The Fabulous Zed Watson, Hazel Bly and the Deep Blue Sea, and Too Bright to See. So the school has, said certain things about it. One of them is that they, first of all, now this is interesting, is that the district said Cahall knew the books were not acceptable because she asked for them to be placed in the library and they were denied. And the books were placed in the classroom without putting them through the established approval process. So what is kind of implied here is that she tried to get these books approved and put into the school library. They were rejected. And then she just decided to go ahead and put them in her classroom without getting any kind of approval for that. And apparently, I guess there is some kind of approval process here at this particular school. And it also says here that it's the district has a controversial issues policy. So it says here that the school board will permit the introduction and proper educational use of controversial issues, provided that their use is in the instructional program, is related to the instructional goals of the course of study and level of maturity of the students, does not tend to indoctrinate or persuade students to a particular point of view, encourages open-mindedness, and is conducted in a spirit of scholarly inquiry. Now, this teacher is saying that the controversial issue policy is vague. She, I believe, has claimed that she lost pay on those days that she was suspended. And so it's a whole big deal, and she's filing a lawsuit and just basically saying, hey, you violated my rights. I lost money and all this, so I'm taking you to court. Well, very interesting. And this is not the first time that something like this has been brought up. As a matter of fact, there's a book that I started reading sometime this year. I haven't finished it yet, but it's about a librarian in Louisiana that kind of went through a similar thing because she was speaking out about putting certain books in the library, and then she ended up getting death threats and all this kind of thing. And this happened in Louisiana, where I am from. So that's just kind of the climate that I live in. People are not as open, say, about LGBTQ plus as in places like California or some other states. So it was a whole big deal. But my point is this is nothing new. We have seen this time and time again. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because, I find this interesting because I have my own classroom library and my own thoughts about how I put books into that library and how I allow students to gain access to them. And so I would like to share with you some of my ideas on that and ways that I have tried to prevent something like this from happening to me, for getting into any trouble for books in my classroom library. And also, just in general, is it okay to put these kinds of books in libraries to begin with? And make sure that if you have not subscribed to the Classroom Camp channel, that you do subscribe so that you get all the updates on videos that I post, so that we can stay connected, because these videos are about hearing from you all and your thoughts and sharing your experiences and just ideas. That's what teaching is about. Teaching is not just about teaching, it is about learning. And I think that I can learn from you all. So let me know what you think and stay connected with Classroom Camp. So here's the thing about this issue here. So first of all, like I said, I do have my own classroom library. And there is a video on my channel, which I will post a link to in the description, that shows you how I source my books from my library. And I honestly do not go through all the books that I get for students. Like, I just don't. I don't have time to look through all the books. But for the most part, I do believe that they are age appropriate and sometimes maybe a little bit, not even necessarily, they might be a little too young for some of my students. I teach a remedial 7th grade literacy class, and I still have students that love Diary of a Wimpy Kid, even though they're in 7th grade. That's like a lower level book, but I have those books in my library because they like that sort of thing. So my students, they love Dork Diaries, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Goosebumps, the Five Nights at Freddy's books, comic books, things like that. And do I have some books with LGBTQ plus characters in them? Well, honestly, I couldn't tell you because I haven't gone through every single book. That's just a lot of work. But here is the thing about my classroom library. So what I have done to try to get around something like this is I make my students take home a permission slip and have it signed so that they can use the classroom library. And in that permission slip, there's a disclosure that, hey, these are books. Sometimes they may discuss certain topics that you may not necessarily support, but I have done my best to try and make sure that students have books to read and yada yada yada, all this stuff. And so parents and guardians have to sign off to use my classroom library, and I keep all those permission slips. So if any parent were to come back and complain about this, it's like, hey, I don't just allow open access to my classroom library. You signed off on this permission slip, and so here, and I don't know how legal that is. You might have to tell me on that. Like, can that help me in a court of law? I'm not exactly sure, but that is just something that I have done to try to, to protect myself. Did this teacher do that? Well, I have no idea. I have no idea. It does not tell us that. And for teachers who do have classroom libraries, the reason I bring this up is because that is something you might want to consider. If you do have a classroom library, do you have your students and their parents or guardians sign off giving permission that they can use it? Because I think that in this case, like, this happened, I believe this was stated in another article. Now, don't quote me on this because I could be mistaken, but I believe like a parent came in and saw these books in the classroom library and reported it to administration. So, But yeah, you never know what could happen. And make sure that you protect yourself as best as possible in these kinds of cases. And it looks like there is some kind of approval process. So, you know, regardless of what you believe, your employer is going to, is ultimately the one who is in control of your employment. And so you need to make sure that you follow those processes. Now, the school that I go to, there is no approval process. So it's kind of left up to me. And as a matter of fact, I mean, I think that this is just my feeling is I think that they are just grateful for the fact that I have a classroom library. I don't think any other teacher on the hallway has a classroom library that's as extensive as mine. And I've gone out of my way to find books on my own to bring to the school to do that. And we're at a Title I school. So, look, if you want to fire me over my classroom library, I think that I bring a lot of value. And students love my library. And yeah, the students who have permission, they get to use it. Now, here's the other thing about this article. Okay. When I first read this, I was like, is the school overreacting? I mean, you just got some kids books, maybe it says here that that they have LGBTQ plus characters. And in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, well, maybe you have these are third graders. So, you got some books about like a third grader that has, some LGBTQ plus parents, maybe like one of their parents is transgender, or like you got two dads or you got two moms, or something like that. I had a student last year that has a mom that was dating another lady, so I have students that are in those situations. But here's the thing. So one of the books that's named here is Anna on the Edge. And I decided, let me just go look up these books and see what is actually in them. So here's Anna on the Edge. And let me just read for you like what it says here as the synopsis. The first thing up here, it says, perfect for fans of Melissa and Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World, this heartfelt coming-of-age story introduces a non-binary athlete navigating a binary world. 12-year-old Anna Marie Jin, the reigning U.S. juvenile figure skater champion, is not a frilly dressed kind of kid. So when Anna learns that next season's program will be princess-themed, doubt forms fast. Still, Anna tries to focus on training and putting together a stellar routine, blah, blah, blah. And then it says here, once Anna meets Hayden, a transgender boy new to the rink, thoughts about the princess program and gender identity to begin to take center stage. So there are lots of red flags here. Lots of red flags, because we are talking about a third grade classroom. Now, I don't know about you all, and not everybody is like me, but when I was in third grade, I was not thinking about gender identity, transgender, non-binary. That stuff really didn't even exist when I was growing up. But these were not topics that I was thinking about. And I just don't know how many kids that young are. Like, so I don't understand why you would put this in a third grade classroom. I mean, the main character here is 12 years old. A lot of my students in 7th grade are 12 years old. And they are, I hear students say, Mr. Harris, is my birthday. And they're always turning 13. So a lot of my students are 12 years old. They are just now getting to that age. So I just don't see how this is age appropriate. This is like a little bit beyond, I think, what students should be getting into. And the subject matter is not something, it is kind of, I do believe, indoctrination into these ideals, because not everyone believes in the idea that there are many kinds of genders or that gender is fluid. You know, there are people that do believe in that it's male and female and that's it. But so to put this in a third grade classroom, I'm just kind of like, I don't think that this is the type of issue that third graders are dealing with. So why are you giving this to them at that age? So that's just my thought on that. And it would be one thing if a book had LGBTQ plus characters in it, but this is, this is the theme of this book. It's stated here in the summary of what this is about. So it's like, why? I don't think that it's an age appropriate topic. I just don't. I think that, in third grade, you're not even really dating and stuff. I mean, of course, kids joke about having a boyfriend and girlfriend and all this sort of thing, but it's like this sexuality and gender and all that. I don't see it. So for a third grade classroom, I wouldn't put it in there. Now, another one of the books that's mentioned is this book here, The Fabulous Zed Watson. So here is another one that it says, finalists for the Governor General's Literary Award, finalists for the Ola Silver Birch Award, the literary scavenger hunt of a lifetime starring an endlessly endearing non-binary tween. So, again, this is not just a story, that to tell a story, that has like a universal or what they call a evergreen, or what's the word I'm looking for? But just a theme that has stood the test of time. Non-binary, I mean, again, non-binary was not a thing 20 years ago. So it's something that is relatively new. It's not a theme that has stayed consistent throughout history, such as love or friendship or something generic like that. But here in the summary, it says stuff like, it says here that it's not all fun and games. Gabe doesn't like Zed's snacks. Sam is a bossy driver with total command of the ancient Impreza stereo, and Zed is often misgendered. Like this is just, it's not, I've never heard of a third grader talking about being misgendered. I just don't think that they care about these things. And look, I could be wrong. It's just not something that I see. It's not something that I experienced growing up. So why is it that kids these days are discussing and talking about these kinds of things at this age? It doesn't make sense to me. And it's not a theme or topic that has stayed consistent throughout history that will stand the test of time. In my opinion, this is something that is new. It is a new idea that is out there in the zeitgeist. And regardless of how you feel about it, it doesn't really matter. It's just that it's not something. I don't think that the whole this movement about transgenderism, non-binary, and the LGBTQ movement, I would just say, like, let's give it 50 years. All right, let's give it 50 years and see, or 100 years, and then see if this is like an everlasting concept that we really need to put into our third grade curriculum. Regardless of how you look at it or not, if you got these books on the shelf for students to read, this isn't part of the formal curriculum, but this becomes part of the unplanned curriculum, especially if you are intentionally putting them in the library. And that really is the difference between this teacher and me, is that I am just trying to provide books for students to read. I'm trying to give them a classroom library. But clearly from this article, this teacher went out of her way to ask to put these books in the school library. And when they were rejected, she decided she was going to go behind their backs, maybe, and put them in her own classroom. So She has gone out of her way. These are books she specifically picked out to put in there. I don't know why teachers do this. Unless you just have something. I get it. Cultural diversity and things like that. I get it. But these are not topics for third graders. So look, that's what I have to say on this. And like I said, my two main points is if you have a classroom library, consider getting a permission slip and having students take that home and get it signed so that you know that whatever you have in the library, the parent has signed off on. And if they really are concerned, they can come up there and look at the library and reject or whatever. I don't know. So that's that. And two, these books are just, in my opinion, not for third graders. Not for third graders. Period. 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 Like the kids say. It's just so I don't see any reason for you to try to put them in there, and it's not something that I would do. But hey, that's just me. Of course, your opinion is the one that matters, and maybe you see something or you know something or you would like to educate me on something that I missed or some of my own ignorance, because I'm not, I don't know everything. But let me know down in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear from you. Also, make sure you like this video if you like this content. And like I said, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be putting out all kinds of content. So stick with us. Thank you for watching Classroom Camp. That's all I have for you this time, and I will see you later.